Poof of smoke. Wizard! Summon theme song! Theme song! Finger lightning! Theme song! Finger lightning!
Welcome back to the Wizard Nerdcast. As usual, I'm Jane.
Matt.
Tonelli.
And we're here with Ariell from Amalgam Comics. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am originally from Baltimore. I got introduced to Philly in college. I went to Temple. And I graduated in 2005, moved back to Baltimore briefly after graduating, and then just decided that Philly is really where the place I wanted to be. So I've been here officially as an adult since 2007.
You fool.
I love Philly. It has its charm and its nuances and its character and its annoyances. Like there are times where I'm just like, oh, this city, but at the end of the day, I can't imagine myself being anywhere else. And when I go home, I realize how Philly I am now.
Oh, it gets under your skin so quick. It really does.
It's very recognizable, for sure.
Do they tell you have the accent yet? Anything like? Well, I guess.
No, I guess not, because when I'm here, I still get country. Like, oh, you're country.
Yeah.
I've even been called out as being from Baltimore, because apparently we draw out our O sounds. And so they're like, oh, you say like two and you, and I was like, okay, I don't know about all that, but
That's all right. I don't think Philly has an accent, so yeah.
Philly has an accent, plus the neighborhoods have an accent.
Yeah,
Like
true.
when you meet somebody from South Philly, there's no question. It's like you didn't have to tell me, I already knew.
It's harder the further south you go. Yeah.
What made you pick like this area that you're in now? Is it just something that just opportunity or specific?
Actually, no. My first location when I was scouting was Lancaster Avenue.
Oh yeah.
Because I thought this concept would do well in West Philly, but when I was kind of plotting it out and Google mapping like locations, I just thought like we would have been way too close to Locust Moon.
Yeah. Right.
Which is like now. They've closed. So
It would have worked out for you. Right.
At the same time that we've opened, they've closed. So it's just one of those things. But I definitely did not want to encroach on anyone else's territory.
Right.
So I wanted to be in a space, a community that was not being served by a comic book store. And coffee shops, there are more of them. So there are going to be multiple coffee shops, but I wanted to be somewhere that it wasn't so saturated where you stand on the corner and it's one, everywhere you turn.
Three of them are Starbucks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so after when I decided not to do Lancaster Avenue, I was then looking at Point Breeze.
Right.
But I thought that South Philly was just a little bit off the beaten path because if you're on the L, you have to interchange.
Right.
So I wanted to kind of be on, because I do feel like that even though there is the Broad Street, the L is the main line. So I wanted to be off the main line.
Man, you put some real thought into what you wanted. That's great.
Location. It's really important. How does the fact that the other shop closed down in like a similar kind of area, you know what I mean, in this city, especially, how do you think that's? Where do you think they went wrong with that? Like, and where
No. I think for them this is like a next step. Like I haven't spoken to anyone in depth or anything. But from what I understand, it's because they publish as well, and their publishing is doing very well.
I think maybe they're just expanding.
And they're just they wanted to focus on that aspect of their business and close the shop. So them closing I think is a good thing for them.
Okay.
It's not anything to
You always get worried if you hear,
No. I mean, because they were a great space, and they too had like additional space. Because I was there. I think over the summer there was a book signing for the Geek Girls Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay.
That author was there, and we talked about the book, and she signed it, and that was in there like additional space. So it's a really cool space. I don't think and in a space that they were using. So I don't think it would have ever been, oh, people just were
Just
interested.
yeah.
Right.
It was like they wanted to go in a different direction.
Well, good. I mean, it's good to see that because, like I said, you see local comic book shops closing down. It makes you worried. You know what I mean? Because it's hard to get it right and open a new business in general, let alone something that's not exactly got the biggest following.
Well, I have a question
nerd-wise.
actually, because like she talks about like local comic shops having problems and everything like that, and I've noticed that I'm really like. My problem when I go to local comic shops, they really focus like Marvel and DC. You have a lot of independents on your shelf.
Yeah.
And I noticed you got a whole rack for Lock It Down, I think, is over there.
Yep.
Is that something like you specifically wanted to do, like focus independent or at least be independent heavy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Marvel girl, so
I knew it because of your trade section. It's like 90% Marvel.
well, you
And
know,
Batman.
we've been having trouble like keeping the shelves full,
Right.
so that I did order heavy, and I ordered it's mostly Ultimate stuff,
Right.
because even though that timeline doesn't exist or whatever.
No, be the Mary that we want you to be, please.
but that was still very solid storytelling, and it's complete.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So some people like, oh, I just want to get into it. What can you recommend? So I recommend anything that is like start and finish. So anything like
me too.
Watchmen,
Yeah.
V for Vendetta, something that if you read it, that's it.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not like oh, this happened in issue 57. It's like I don't have that issue
364.
and it's like, okay, I don't have any of that. So I feel like Ultimate, especially because it is finished,
Right, yeah,
somebody can like start, and even though it's like, well, they're 10 books, but they're not making any more.
Right.
So you feel like you can catch up. And the whole thing with Ultimate is it didn't go into it with all of the mythos of the 616 universe.
Right.
So you're not like, oh, I need to know, 20 years of Captain America's history to read the
Right,
Ultimate.
beginners can jump into it and
Right.
get a run, get the whole
It's
idea.
modernized too.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I
Nice.
tell you how happy I am that you know your shit so much? Like, I'm just so afraid that like you were just into it and liked the idea, but no, you know.
It happens. It does happen.
Yeah, well, I will honestly say, like, new stuff, it's like I have no clue. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We're catching up ourselves
Well,
with the
and-
new stuff.
And I mean, that's the irony. So it's like I'm opening this business, but this has been my life for like the last 3 years. And so, just slowly but surely, I've had time for less and less. So it's like I know roughly what's happening, but I don't know details.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I know Wolverine is dead, which we all know because they advertise it that way. But I don't know. It's like they even had a countdown. It's like 6 months, whatever, until the death of Wolverine. But I don't know how he died. I don't want to know how he died because I am going to read it.
Yeah, you want to get to it.
And I want to be like, no, this.
Wait, you two read it? Fuck you guys.
It's on
Your girlfriend posted it for
the free books.
It was amazing.
We were talking about how you have a good selection of independent comics. Do you have a favorite independent label and or independent like book in general? Like, what is the one you have to go? New comic book day.
Okay.
Pick it up every
Oh,
week.
well, and to finish, because you did ask, like, is that something I
Oh,
wanted
yeah,
to
right,
do?
yeah,
That was fine.
please.
We got, like, off topic.
So that's
We digress.
Yeah, I did, and then mainly because I, recognize that Marvel and DC is not the only thing out there.
Right.
Being a black woman that likes comic books, I am very much about like diverse comics, and they are out there.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily Marvel or DC, right? So just kind of being open to that. So when we're ordering, I'm like, if that looks interesting or it grabs me, even if it's like, I don't know what this is.
Right.
We'll try it out. You know what I mean? And I think really people have really responded well to that it is more than just Superman and Captain America on the shelf.
Well, I think that's the way it's going now, at least I collected books forever. I have thousands of back, you know what I mean? And I gave up on it right before my son was born, and now that I'm trying to get back into it, it's the independents that I'm liking more and more. Like DC and Marvel, not necessarily that it's hard to
They
get
don't know what
into.
they want anymore.
Right.
Right.
But-
And it's a lot of rebooting.
And
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest
Because they're doing, I really think it's because they're doing these movies, so
Right.
they're appealing to new, they're appealing to new audiences.
Right.
So people who've never read it now want to read it. So, but it is intimidating. It's like, this is a daunting task, and now trying to catch up.
So much history.
Yeah, and so
much.
they want to make it easy for people to jump on. But then also, in addition to that, I feel like they almost, in some senses, I feel like the comics are starting to mimic the movies. Because to me, too much began because it's like, well, I've been reading and I liked what was happening, and the movie was cool, but I don't want you to start to change the comic book
Oh, I
universe to match the
absolutely.
movie. But I do feel like they do that because it's like they want it to be recognizable to the people who watch the movie, and so if they read the book and it's like, well, that's not what happened in the movie, it'll alienate them, and I think they know the people who have always been reading might be mad and might bitch about it, but they want to keep reading.
That's a big problem. Fans actually have the biggest tendency to fuck up like their fandoms. You know, like I'm pretty sure the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, were ruined because of fan experience. Like there's a lot of things that they change because of fan reaction to things. You know what I mean? And that's a real shame too, because like you were saying, I do know a ton of people that are like, oh, I love Batman. I'm the biggest Batman fan. I'm like, did you read Killing Joke? And they're like, I just seen the movies. The last 3 movies that came out. Do you not know Michael Keaton or any, you know what I mean? Like Cesar Romero?
Because of that, because of what you were talking about, how they're starting to change the mainline comics, DCs and the Marvels, and even a little bit to an extent like Vertigo and Dark Horse.
Right.
Because they're starting to pander to the majority of the audience that's watching the movies. Our culture is very ironic right now.
Yeah.
It has a big appreciation for irony. So that's why these independent books are starting to kick off so hard. Is because everyone's like, well, I'm not going to read DC. But it's awesome. They're doing better. And they get a chance to do something cool because there's really good stories going on. Like you're reading Rat Queens.
Yeah, Rat Queens.
Yeah, I have, because Image did like their, what do they call it,
their first issues, right?
Yeah, but it was called like First Image or Image First.
Image First, yeah, you're right.
And so I got Rat Queens, and we also have the trade, but I did get the number 1. I haven't had to read it. Everything is like in a pile, just neatly piled up.
Stacks of stuff you have to read.
Yeah, my girlfriend told me about it, and I'm like, I'll give it a shot. I bought the first trade, and then went back the next day and bought the second trade.
Yeah.
So it's so good. And then I just bought I Hate Fairyland.
Goddamn, is that a good book?
Don't get the variant cover.
I don't know. Did I get the variant cover? No, I don't think I did.
No,
that's Scotty Young.
It actually says fuck Fairyland, I believe.
Oh, does it really?
So we have it, and we have it bagged, and there's tape over.
Oh, nice.
Expletive, just because because it's like
Issues a hustler.
because it is, we do have families in here, and while everybody doesn't mind, I do realize it's like that can be a very jarring word, like what's happening. You know what I mean?
The last thing you need is something like that right at the beginning of your career.
And it's still accessible. It's still there. It's just, you know.
Yeah, it's like you know what this means, and
Did you now? It definitely feels like anybody can walk in here. You know, I wouldn't mind. Like my son's 2 years old. I'll bring my son in here without an issue. Is that the environment you wanted to go for? Did you want to go with something specific, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the whole thing is like you want to appeal to as many people as you can without alienating anybody. So it's like, so we have to be careful,
right?
Because it's like we do want to encourage kids and families and readership in those groups, because it's like most people who like comic books as adults started when they were kids.
Right.
So if you don't cater to children at all, you are like kind of self-sabotaging your industry, because it's like they'll grow up and be like, oh, I just never got into comics.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can't do that, but at the same time, you don't want it to be like a playground where the people that
It discourages older
people that it's like, you know, last time they were on, we had like a really good talk about, you know, whatever, but they're like, oh, that shop's cool, but it's always a whole bunch of kids, so it's weird because you need to find a happy medium. But I think we're doing that. We definitely get families in here, like strollers and all, you know.
Yeah, I saw
parents
that.
hanging out and reading to their kids, which is really awesome. But
You have the kid racks over there in the corner.
yeah, and people actually like sit and read, which and is really, really sweet. Like, you know, kids learning to read with comics. Like a little girl was flipping through a book today and was like, "Mommy, I think I can read this one." So I thought that was awesome. But you know, I think it depends on the time of day. So later, we definitely see like an older crowd, which is cool. And you know, it's wintertime now, and it's cold and it's dark, so we do close fairly early. But you know, in the warmer months, especially like the Friday, Saturday, we want to stay open a little bit later. to be like a non-bar option for if you just kind of want to just not be in your house.
Right. Somewhere to sit out.
Yeah, so I mean, so it was definitely thought about, but it's one of those things you don't know until you do it, because you don't know what your flow is going to look like or how people are going to perceive the space. Because you can do all you want if people still come in and think like, oh, this is for kids.
I think you're having a good medium here, because a lot of problems that some comic shops have is that they're so squished and it feels like they're so full and dungeony. You know what I mean? And they feel very just kind of, there's a layer of something on something. And it's kind of awkward and tight, and then this is very open and very colorful and very welcoming. So it's working out very well, like looks-wise and everything.
And I love your tables too. Can I tell you, I love your tables more because they're hand painted. Is that right?
They are. So I have a friend who's actually out in Virginia who took 2 trips to Philly, just day trips, to like knock those tables out.
Wow! Oh
Yeah.
my god!
Nice.
That was the first thing I noticed because I forget who it was, but I saw on Facebook your page, followed it, and then I saw the pictures of everything. And I'm like, oh, those are really great, and I thought like they were laminate tables or something. Then I came in here, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is hand painted. This is really cool. The whole aesthetic works, and it's really, like she said, everything's really pleasing to it. Now, you talk about, you really seem, what you're doing. At least the business point of view, you really come across like
Very
the idea.
practical.
Yeah. Have you done something? Maybe not this. I mean, this is a rare thing. But have you done this sort of thing before? Ran a business? Anything like that?
No. I mean, this is my first entrepreneurial venture. But I was an accounting major at Temple. So I do understand like the books. I was an assistant manager at Walgreens for a number of years, so I've managed in some respect a store.
You understand business.
Yeah, and I've been in retail since I was 16. I worked in a coffee shop for a year. I actually love retail.
Do you really?
I do. I've loved retail.
Look, somebody's got it.
No, I really do. So there are definitely, you can work places where you feel like your soul is being sucked out of you, but even in those instances, it's not the work that I dislike, because I really like the work. I love nothing more than to like reset a shelf. It's like send me to a pharmacy and be like redo the vitamin wall. Not even face it, reset it.
Oh, you like the modding stuff.
Reset the vitamin wall, and I'll be like, yeah. That
OCD.
because I'm definitely OCD. I like things to be in straight lines and things like that. So it really does.
Right number.
You gotta read a chart. It's like,
Oh
we
my
choose.
God.
I do thrive. And like when I worked at Walgreens, there was a period where I was actually on a reset team, so I wasn't managing in the stores. We were actually going, like we were traveling, we were in Virginia, just setting up new stores. So basically you're just doing resets all day, or going into stores that were really behind in their resets and getting them caught up. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. This is what I want to do. It's like, I don't want to be a manager. I want to do the wall.
Right. You really have a brain for it. Yeah.
I just the way I like,
Organizational aspect.
because it's organizing. It's you kind of have to plan it out, but you also get to touch everything. You know what I mean? And I tell my friends all the time, it's like I was like, I feel so good today. I put things on the shelf. I put price tags. I was like bagging and boarding and putting my tape on and putting the tag on. And I was like, this is not in alphabetical order. Like that is just like the best.
What does your
thing to
comic
me.
book collection look like? Good Lord.
Organized.
Oh my God.
All of my boxes are Marvel miniseries, Marvel ongoing. Uncanny has a box, miscellaneous titles, non-Marvel ongoing, non-Marvel miniseries, and then each one. I'm a Marvel girl, so a lot of X-Men. Like that's. But I started to like venture outside of that, and so that's where the other stuff starts coming in.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask you is what do you think was your? I read up on your interviews and stuff, and I seen that like one of your favorites was Storm, and everything. You grew up loving Storm and everything. What do you think was your very first nerd boner? Like, what was the first thing you saw that was like, I'm in, period? Do you think that was Storm, or was there something else?
Okay, I think the moment where I realized how deep this rabbit hole could go, Fox's X-Men, One Man's Worth, Part 1 and Part 2, because basically it's Age of Apocalypse, but not.
Right.
but in it, Storm and Wolverine are married, and I was like, yes. And so then, you know, but Marvel didn't do that, and then when they did it, then they killed him. And I was like, okay, you're trying my patience. So then I started.
My God, I'm right behind you on this.
So then I discovered fan fiction, and fan fiction is this world where your dreams come true.
What ifs?
It's just like, it's just a catalog of what ifs. So then I started like reading fanfic that was like Storm and Wolverine based, because I was like, this is my pairing. I love it. This is my OTP. So I think that episode really just kind of like locked it in, because I became, I like powers, I like all of that, but I think any story, no matter what the backdrop is, you have to be drawn to the people.
Right.
And in that instance, I was like drawn to them individually, their story, like why they would work together, like all that stuff, and so it just kind of like sucked me in. But yeah, I mean, anything, you know, because even like I talk about like Walking Dead, and it's like the zombies are just the backdrop. It's about the people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
They are the Walking Dead.
and just in this world, it's like, how far will you go? How, you know, will you lose your humanity? Will you keep it? Can you keep it? Like all of that. And I just think it's just like a really interesting like study of humanity.
You're Marvel.
That's exactly it.
People.
Marvel tells great people stories.
They tend to be more realistic in like locations and trying to like more science. You know what I mean?
They use a place.
It's just like, you know, comic book science. Yeah. So did you have a favorite independent comic? Did you ever?
Oh, did I answer?
No.
Yeah, we keep getting off topic.
That's us. That's what we
Don't
do.
worry about
Yeah,
that.
we.
Trademark.
So, I guess, I'm trying to think. Independent.
How about publisher?
You know what? Neverwhere, which is Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
Which, after I read it, I was like, what the fuck did I just read? I don't know how I feel, but I really enjoyed it. It was just it's weird and bizarre, and you just walk away like unsettled a little bit.
It's kind of like The Filth. You ever read The Filth?
I'm not.
It's this weird comic where it just leaves you with emotions. And like no real understanding of anything that happened. You're just like, all right, so I don't feel right anymore now. Like, all right, the rest of my life's going to be different. It's very shit. So you brought up Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman's my favorite comic book writer of all time. My dream issue, if I was to have something signed, it was Sandman #1.
Okay.
If you were to have something, any issue you could get your hands
Signed
on,
by
signed by whoever you want, what would it be? Signed by who?
Oh.
The important questions.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know of an issue per se, but
It could be a thing too.
I would like.
Cap Shield, signed by Steve Rogers.
Well, I do have Wolverine claws, and if I could meet Hugh Jackman, that'd be cool. But
That'd be really cool.
I would probably say probably Chris Claremont, because I feel like he did a lot to just kind of set the X-Men up as like one
absolutely
of
agree
like
with
the
you.
greatest super teams of all time. You know, so.
Are you? Now you talked a lot about the X-Men. Seems to be at least there for you.
Your heart's
Yeah,
good right there.
they definitely are.
Is there like? Is Claremont's run like specifically the end all be all? Is there somebody that you like more or?
Oh no, definitely not. It was just, you know, it's one of those things you recognize. Had he not written the book, would it be where it is?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
But somebody else who wrote, he actually wrote Ultimate X-Men, Brian K. Vaughan.
Yeah. Oh, I love Vaughn.
And he like ruined that book for me, because once he left, I was like, I cannot read. Like once he left, I was just like, this is not the same.
Ultimate
And
X-Men's
that's when I started to like kind of teeter and just keeping up with that book, because it just wasn't the same. And it's not that I didn't care. It was just like when I would read it, I would just be like, it's not the same. Yeah.
That's a shame.
It's true.
I feel like he really needs to stick to his own stuff. It's like, don't be dabbling in other people's stuff, because you'll ruin it. It's like, you know,
Yeah, just ruin it for everybody else.
Once you leave, it's like, oh, okay, it's not. Yeah, it's just he's a really great storyteller. I think he like his own characters are always like very complex and like multi-layered and just really interesting to see in action. So
let me ask you, Ariel, do you like games?
I do like games.
I noticed you got some flyers up for the Terror Below. Do you have a part in this? Is this?
No, so this is an independent event. It's the Tabletop Gaming Guild of Philadelphia, and we are hosting them. So the event is here, but it is not our event.
Right.
But it is tomorrow. The preview I think is at 6, and then the gameplay starts at 7, and
It's a natural
be
merger.
between 2 or 3 hours.
Very cool.
My understanding.
Is that something like you want to kind of do, like something like that, like hosting
You have
events
to
like this?
set up. Is
Oh,
this
yes.
always here?
Yeah, these are always here, and actually, they weren't here initially, and I got some prodding, and I listened. I listen when people tell me things, which is why we're also about to be open on Sunday, because people have been
Good
like,
call.
Sunday's the best day, so we're about to like do some shifts in our hours. But I put these tables up. The reason I hadn't put them up is because we are actually going to have a gaming lounge.
Yeah. Oh,
wow.
Because this space is bigger than this.
Right.
There are 3 additional rooms behind these walls.
Oh my God.
So one of them is going to be the stock room. One of them is going to be the office when we finish the renovations back there. And then
Right.
there's one back here. We actually covered up the door to enlarge the bathrooms,
Right.
because the bathrooms are really like these hole-in-the-wall things. So the entrance has been covered, so we're going to have to break another door out, but it'll probably be like about here. And, the hope is to have at least 2 TVs and then 2 consoles. We might even rotate out what consoles they are, and like 2 couches, and then these tables permanently set up in that room so that people just have a place to game.
Yeah, that was-
You're really touching every facet of nerd world at this
That
point.
was my next question. Since you're doing this hosting, I was kind of excited because I imagined, you guys getting shelves with games and stuff, like if we could come in and play D&D or something. Like that would be all. If you could do all that here, because you can't do that like in a lot of places.
Right, and I think, and then there are like shops, like I've been in the suburbs, and they'll have like gaming stations just like far away.
Yeah.
And again, because it's the city, so stuff is tighter. And Atomic City has like space for gaming.
Yeah, right.
But for me personally, I'm never in South Philly. And like I said, like I always feel like South Philly, it just takes a little bit extra to get there. So for me, it's like, again, just having more than one option is cool, because it's like some people, it's like you are in South Philly, so you don't want to have to go further than that. But,
Exactly.
But if you're not, and you have to get there, that's a thing. Or if you feel like, I have to go out to King of Prussia or Plymouth Meeting, or just you got to get in the car and drive. Yeah, to like have that space. So
Plus, you don't have to worry about taking from other people's if it's like a.
If we're really spread apart.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I have to go out to Willow Grove. At least that's where I go to get my books. Yeah,
Brave New
New
World.
World, thank you. But like, we're based out of the Northeast. Like, that's where we record at. That's where the 4 of us all live. This is a 20-minute drive for us, not even. It's a 45-minute drive for me to go up to Willow Grove to get my books. It sucks.
Plus, like or something. Whatever.
Talking about like local are you maybe behind the idea of doing like a pull list, stuff like that eventually?
Yeah,
maybe down the road?
Again, so everything comes down to space right
Right.
now. So because the rear rooms are not done,
Right.
and we still have some work to do in there, there's not really a good place to store
hold
books
anything.
safely.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, whoops,
Yeah, no, yeah.
apologizing, like, actually, this thing happened in the back room, So again, we are working to start those renovations, and once those are done, we will have a pull list. We will have this.
that'd be
But
great.
again, I don't want to do anything like half-assed. So I feel like if we're doing it, I want to do it well.
Right.
And I don't want to throw it together just to say, yeah, we do it. But then there are just all these problems,
No, that's good.
Yeah,
Be
get it right the
consistent.
first
Right.
time. Right.
Yeah. So speaking of games, we brought a little bit of a game here for you. And
Smoothest of segues.
you don't even have.
We're
to,
good at that, too.
You don't even have to know anything unless it's just about yourself. So we're gonna do a little bit of this and that. So now we
Yeah,
timer
yeah,
for
sure.
us?
Yeah, let me.
So I don't know what these are yet.
Okay. Who writes them?
That was
Jane does that.
Okay.
So this was her great idea.
Okay.
So here for 1 minute, he is going
We're
to
gonna
say
do as
this
many of
or
these as
this.
we can.
And you say the first one that comes to your mind.
So these are going to be just as surprising to me as they are.
All right, ready? Yep, go.
All right, Vertigo or Dark Horse?
Vertigo.
Scones or croissants?
Scones.
Sci-fi or fantasy?
Fantasy.
Captain America or the Punisher?
Captain America.
Beer or weed? What are you going
Neither, actually. I like cider.
Oh, nice answer.
Guns or swords?
Swords.
Cake or pie?
That's tough, right?
Pie.
Yes, pie. Yes, pie.
Boxers or briefs?
Boxers.
Mutants or aliens?
Mutants.
Dead parents or science experiments?
Science experiments.
Apocalypse, zombie, or robot? Is this a three?
Apocalypse, zombie, or robot?
Zombie.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Smart.
Chinese or Indian? Food.
Indian.
Thanks for specifying. Hawkeye or Green Arrow?
Hawkeye.
Spring or fall?
Spring.
Magic or science?
Magic.
Cats or dogs?
Time.
Both.
Yeah, so we do ridiculous stuff, but we enjoy it. We like to just go back to the idea of hosting and the idea of bringing more people into it. We've been doing this for about a year now, give or take, a little bit longer, and we're throwing our first event. We're doing a second Halloween
Cool.
because everybody hates Valentine's Day. At least we hate Valentine's
So
Day.
we're getting rid of Valentine's.
Yeah, we're replacing it, and we're gonna throw costumes and stuff like that.
Oh, sweet.
We're having a trash tune contest. Which is store-bought costumes aren't allowed. You have to
Make
take all your garbage out and glue it together and come and get drunk.
Make pots of paint.
yeah, we do. Jane and I went to New York City Comic Con this past year, and we cosplayed. We're kind of friendly with an independent book actually, and
Super Comics.
yeah, it's called Super, and we cosplayed their characters and we walked around with them. Is that are you interested in that area?
Cosplay.
Yeah, stuff
Oh,
like
I
that.
love cosplay.
Yeah.
I have cosplay, but I'm not as hardcore as people can be. But
Okay.
I think cosplayers are just so good for fandoms in general because they get you excited.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, the movies don't get it right because at the root of it, it's about money, and the people who are involved don't necessarily love it, but a cosplayer loves it.
Yeah.
And that is just seen in every aspect of what they do. I saw online, somebody was cosplayed as Dragon Ball, and they were on a Nimbus cloud. And it was
Yeah.
what? And
People get into
and
it.
it's just so creative and so how they even think to do that. I saw this Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's a line. I still call it Avatar, even though the blue people came
So
out.
do I.
It's that was first.
Yep.
No, it's Avatar and James Cameron's Avatar.
But I saw, people just had different cosplays and just so creative, even in their poses. Somebody did the cabbage guy, the cabbage merchant, and I was like, who would think to cosplay as the cabbage merchant? But it was so funny because anybody who watches the show is like, my cabbage merchant. I was like, that was awesome. And then I saw some Street Fighter cosplay that they photo manip the pictures. So one guy was dressed up as Doslam and they made it look like he was stretching. And I was like, this is incredible. And so just gets you excited about what the thing you already are excited about. So it's the fact that they can up your excitement when you're already excited is something of note.
When somebody makes something that people love enough to recreate exactly or in their own image or something, it's got to be something good. So even when you see something maybe somebody cosplays Garlic Jr. or something ridiculous, and somebody's always going to recognize that. You go to a con thinking, oh man, nobody's going to know who I am. And then they're like, you! And you're like, yes!
And they get excited. I went, where were we? We were in Chicago, and this was years ago, and Spike was there from Buffy, so I was there. I was there to make a fool of myself in front of Spike, and I did. I was like, I'm going to be so cool. He's going to be like, this is the coolest girl I've ever met. And I don't know what I said, because I don't think I said anything. It was even the thing, I was rambling, and I feel like I stepped out of myself and looked at myself like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But while I was there was this girl, and she was dressed as Frey from Joss Whedon, like Buffy.
The prequel, right.
She's like a future slayer.
Yeah.
And I saw her, and I'm like looking at her shirt, and I was like, "You're Frey," and she was like, "No one has known who I was all day." And she was like, "Thank you." And she gave me a hug, and I was like, "Yeah," and it was like awesome, like the way she cut the shirt, everything, like her hair, like she nailed it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a really cool thing.
Good cosplay, committed good cosplay is like some of the best stuff ever. Like that's like my favorite part of going to cons and stuff is seeing that. Like you probably won't see the famous people or anything because they're behind curtains.
Right.
But
and it costs like $500 to see them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might as well be seeing famous people when these people are so committed to making it look exactly like that person you love. And it looks great, and just like stopping them and talking to them about like how they did it. That's really the coolest part. Like they are really truly like in love with these characters.
Yeah.
So.
Do you like conventions now that we're talking about it? Actually, I mean, you've been to one, at least one.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to a couple. I don't go as often as I'd like to, and mainly it's because the price ticket that's attached to
hurts.
it. Yeah, and you know the last few years have been very tight for me.
Yeah.
And and things are still very. I mean, you know, the store's open and you know things are going well, but it's not a time of plenty. So everything is like very tight.
It's still just open.
Yeah.
You gotta give yourself time for overhead accumulation and whatnot.
Yeah, so for that reason, I don't go as often as I should. At least to the bigger things, I try to hit up like the local things. Like I do ECBOC in the spring, so that's in May, I think. And then I just did the Black Comic Book Convention in New York at the Schomburg, which is really cool. And that was actually a free Comic-Con.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was free. You just go.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
And so you did have to like register, but it was no ticket price. And it was really like they had such a turnout to the point where we didn't eat because there were no food places inside. And they were like, well, you can leave and you can come back because you have a wristband on. But they were like, if there's room. we like peeked out the door and like the line was going around the block. Wow. So everybody was getting to the door and then like backing up. So I was like, when we left, it's in New York, so we're like rushing to get our bus, and I was like, we've got to get something to eat. I cannot be trapped on the bus for 2 hours with no food. I was like, this is serious. So, but yeah, so I try to do again the local stuff, and again because you see different things.
Yeah.
You know, you can get distracted at the big cons because like the big names are there, but like the smaller stuff, it's like oh my gosh, what is this? This is interesting. And like you know, when I went to the Schomburg, I went with the thought of like I want to see what's out there and like get some of that stuff in. And so I've actually already touched base with one creator who we should be getting her books in March, I believe.
Oh, that's great.
And she had, she was set up there. So it's just like cool again, and making sure we are staying true to that, like independent. And again, like nothing against Marvel and DC, clearly.
They're doing fine.
Yeah, but to help other people, like get their name out there, get their stories out there, because people are telling like very interesting and different stories. So
that I just want to bring it back to where you were talking about before, well, at least when we started talking about the cons. I want to bring it back to the store. Now, the last couple of years, you said, you know what I mean? Has this been a goal that you've been reaching towards the last couple of years? Is this something that the opportunity became available and you just made what needed to be made to open? Or?
Well, I mean, so I've had the idea since college, since 2003. Yeah, so 2003. So what's this? 16 now. So, but
it's been a while.
It's been a while, but yeah, I mean, it just so again, had the idea for a while, and again, just timing's not right. It's like okay, in school, okay, out of school, but now you're in debt.
Yeah.
Now you're working to pay off your debt, but you have 2 jobs to do it. So it's just like a time constraint, and then my mom was ill, so that was something that you couldn't really think beyond what was happening in the moment. And then just slowly, I guess the fog began to lift, and the opportunity was presenting itself. And I was at a place where it's like I need to do something because I was really unhappy. I hated my job. I hated my other job. And I needed to at least try.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I can at least say, well, I did it, it worked or it didn't, but now I know. As
What you're
opposed
doing.
to,
You seem to be doing very, at least, well, I mean, you've got, like I said, I've seen all your interviews, you've got so many people, NPR, you've got so many people talking to you because this is so interesting, and in our city, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You said you've let us in on a couple of your future plans, but before we wrap this up, what would you say is some of your bigger goals for Amalgam in general in the future?
Yeah, I don't know 100%. I think the fact that it has gotten this far and that we opened our doors, I don't even think it's really hit me yet because this was a really long process, and there were many times in it that it was like, this is never going to work.
Right.
Like, I mean, you probably shouldn't like put that out. You shouldn't like speak that into existence, but there were just moments where you're just looking at it and looking at what isn't working, and it's like, this was a mistake.
Because you're going to be that playing in there. That's amazing.
It's like, I was like, I've wasted my money, I've wasted somebody else's money, and I still have to pay it back. And it's like, shit. So you're just thinking like, I have, this is, a shit show. And that's how it feels. And then just slowly but surely, things started to like, kind of click into place. And it was like, oh my God, like even the day before, like when my sister was here helping wash dishes, and she's in Maryland, so she, took a trip up and like washing dishes, and my niece is helping like alphabetize the books. And I was like, we are about to open tomorrow. That's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I'm just living in that for the time being. But I'm definitely open to growth, but I don't know what that is.
Right.
But I mean, this is definitely like a community space, and I'm, listening to what people want or, what they need to feel like this space is theirs. So, I think we'll definitely change, we'll adapt, but what that looks like at the end, I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Evolution, right?
I don't know.
Well, Ariell, it has been great having you and talking to you, and I feel very, confident that this place is going to do awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I mean, hopefully we'll talk to you again soon, hang out some more. But until next time, this has been Jane.
Mayor?
Tonelli.
From Wizard Nerdcast. Thank you.